Good evening, guys. I anticipate there'll be a few of you kind of latecomers. We have come on a bit early, but firstly, Merry Christmas.
Merry
Although we
Christmas,
are
everyone.
we
Yeah.
are a few days late. Yeah, I've been a bit under the weather, so that has, of course, delayed this live stream. Now, for those of you that are relatively new to the channel, I've been doing a live Q&A at Christmas time for a few years now, and it's become a car obsession tradition. Normally, I do it by myself, but I'm spending time with this one here, Pocket Rocket, so I thought I may as well get him involved as well. So yeah, this year's really flown by, and it's been an interesting one because thankfully for Car Obsession, I've had the great fortune to drive predominantly performance cars. Almost every car I have reviewed this year has been a performance car in some shape or form, whether it be a Caterham or an Audi TTRS, a Kia Stinger GTS, or a hot hatch. So I am very lucky in that regard. Of course,
come to think of it, this is the same
yeah,
for me as well.
it's weird how it's turned out.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
I mean, I'm
or
a
why
little,
it's
I wouldn't say fussy. What's the right word?
Particular.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because of my channel.
Mm.
Because you're a lot more broader with what you wanted.
Yeah.
I suppose with your start, it was a lot different to mine. Whereas you sort of wanted to get on a ladder anywhere you could.
Yeah.
And you got the opportunities with lots of different brands, but with cars that were probably a bit lackluster.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. By the way, guys, I know there's not that many people on because we have come in a bit early. For those of you that are watching, could you please let us know whether you can see us, which you should be able to, which is bad news for you, and B, whether you can hear us. That is the key thing here, really. I'd say audio is probably more important than visual.
Yeah.
So if you can let us know whether you can hear us, that'd be fantastic. Because I'm just on the old MacBook Pro. We're not mic'd up or anything. It's a very basic affair, but we like to keep things simple because there's less to go wrong. But yeah, I'm trying to think that I think the first car I tested this year was the i30M, wasn't it?
Wow.
So talk about
That's mental.
Talking about getting the year off to a good start, and then it's finished a little bit more in a humdrum manner. Finished with the Honda Civic Advance, which is not a sporty model, but a very good model. I was very impressed by the Honda Civic.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to your review as well.
Yeah, it's one of those cars that you drive it, and just everything about it is just very. It's nicely balanced and just really nicely tuned. I don't mean from a performance perspective. It's
an all-rounder.
It's just a very good all-rounder. The ride is fantastic. It's supple enough to be comfortable, but when you meet a corner, it doesn't roll onto its door handles.
Yeah.
The steering. The steering was beautiful, really nicely weighted.
Well, it's a fun fact because they build that based on the Type R.
Oh, really?
So that car is based on the Type R, not that. But then the Type R is based on that.
So they did a Type R and then worked backwards.
Yeah,
that's really interesting.
Yeah,
but probably a good way of doing it, because if you can get your flagship performance model sorted, and then filter that way into the more cooking model versions, then it's probably a good way of doing it. And we all know Honda is a powerhouse when it comes to engineering.
It's evident with the FKX. I did the exact same thing with that. They based their normal Civic on the FKA Type R.
And the FK8 Type R is a fantastic car. It's to this.
Hello, Elliot.
To this day, it's a bold claim, but dare I say, it's the best hot hatch I've ever driven. The GR Yaris. I don't know.
Yeah, I've not yet to drive. I haven't driven that yet, so I can't comment.
Hello, Elliot. Elliot, by the way, can you hear us? Okay.
Yeah. I would say I'd still choose the FKA because it's got the practicality element to it as well.
Yeah,
I've stood around the GR Yaris, not got to drive one.
Thank you, Elliot. Thank you.
Not got to drive one, but
the GR Yaris is one of those cars where it deserves all of the hype it gets. You get some cars you think, okay, the motoring journalists have got a bit excited. For example, I'm going to say something quite controversial here. I think the Toyota GT86, and I've driven one, I think that car's overrated.
Yeah.
Now, that's probably a bold claim. I'm yet to drive the GR86.
Engine was very woeful, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I drove it, and if I'm honest, I didn't quite see what all the fuss was about. I haven't driven a Suzuki Ignis Sport. I know someone on Instagram who lives really local to me that he has one, and it's been one of those things where I do want to drive an English Sport. I was
Didn't
thinking,
those come with those very retro Recaro seats?
yes,
Yeah.
they did. Yeah, you're right.
It's actually a very
Yeah.
intriguing car.
I was
Very
I was actually looking at the classifieds. I was thinking about buying one just
Yes.
just for a laugh.
Yeah, because I saw one for like
but-
1,500 quid, and I was like,
But some of them, they are, for what they are and the age they are, they hold their value
Yeah.
surprisingly well. I think it's because they're quite niche.
They're
They're quite
certainly better
quite
looking than the
collectible.
current Ignises as well. The current Ignises are a bit.
No, the current
I like. To be fair, I do like it.
the current Ignis is fine so long as you're not stood behind it. Every other angle is like yes, and you get to the rear, it's like, so have you reversed this into a brick wall? What's happened here? Did the designer go, right, that's my work done, off to lunch. Apprentice, finish it off. As the rear design of the latest Ignis does leave a lot to be desired.
There's one for 1,400 quid, Aaron.
Out your end.
Is that the next those two car guys video there? Sorted.
You know what?
1,400 quid.
I would genuinely be and Ignis Sport is a car that literally piques my interest.
Yeah.
It's so quirky because it's not quite a hot hatch. It's not quite an SUV.
The problem is that there's a lot of cars that pique my interest.
I know.
It's a dangerous hobby.
For me, going on Auto Trader can only end in expensive tears.
Yeah, but the problem is you've got about 5 million cars at the minute. So
I've got 3. I've got 3.
The temptation is controlled in that sense. Whereas I've got an empty unit at the minute where I could store about 10 cars.
But there we are. You could become the UK equivalent of Jay Leno.
Yeah. Just more shit.
800 kilos. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me because there's not much to them, is there?
Is it really? 800 kilos?
It doesn't surprise me because it's such a small car.
Yeah, because it's not plagued with airbags all over, isn't it?
No,
safety stuff.
It's from that era where it's not classic, but it's not. Yeah, like you say, it's not crammed with autonomous emergency braking and lane keep assist. It's a very basic, honest car, and I like cars like that because the kind of cars you call a spade.
Yeah,
you know where you stand with them. There's no gimmicks. There's no frills. It's just you get in there, turn the key, and away you go.
Yeah,
and I like cars like that. That's why I like my MX-5.
And for me personally, these days it's more appealing to me now with cars becoming just soulless in that respect.
Yes,
it takes all the fun out of driving as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. For example, okay, maybe not the best example, but the latest Audi S3. Granted, a lot of fast Audis have been known for being a bit soulless, but I drove the latest Audi S3 last year, I think.
Yeah, I was with you, wasn't I?
A cracking car, but it just leaves you so cold. You just think,
I forgot what colour it was.
Tango Red.
Yeah.
Of course, it was Tango Red. It's one of those cars where it's difficult to really dispute its shortcomings, but it's just a bit boring. Learn how to nick them. That's my advice. No, seriously. It's a good question. The thing is, your question is a little bit broad in the sense of
like what type of car are you talking about? Modern day cars that are the last couple of years old?
Not only that, is it a case of do you want to do what we do, or you just want to
or just experience
or are you just a glorified
maybe own a car for 6 months? Maybe own a car 6 months, then get rid of Tri-Stan cars. That's actually a really good concept if that is the idea you have.
Yeah, it's a good question, but a difficult one to answer. If you want to do what we do, I'll tell you now, it's far from easy.
It's difficult.
Building relationships, I've spoken about this many times. Building relationships up with brands is what we do.
What do we do?
Right, okay,
I don't know. That's questionable.
It's very difficult because you end up with a catch-22 to begin with, because you go to a manufacturer, whether it be Ford, Honda, Aston Martin, if you're feeling really adventurous, and go, "Hello, sir, can I please drive one of your cars?" Now, on average, it can vary, but from what I've been told, from what I've learned from being in the industry, if you want to call it that, because I'm not really, we don't do this full time. It's a passion. On average, for a car manufacturer to send a car out to you, it costs them around £1,000. You may think, how? Well, they have to pay for the car to be insured, even if I had fully I do have fully comp insurance, but because I work in the motor trade, I don't get third party on other cars, but that's a different story altogether. Hello from Greece. Hello from Essex.
Oh, fellow Greek. Yeah.
They have to pay to insure the car. They have to pay for it to be fully fueled, because 9 times out of 10 it will come with a full tank, or if it's EV, it will come with a full battery. They have to pay for the car to be delivered and for the car to be collected. So it gets delivered to your place of work or to your home, and as much as for a company as big as Ford, for example, £1,000 is probably a drop in the ocean, but it's not just us two doing this. In the UK alone, there's thousands upon thousands of people doing what we do. So if you imagine that you've got a car manufacturer dishing cars out left, right, and centre, for them to be spending this amount of money on exposure, that's exactly what they want. They want exposure. So, for example, if I do a video on a car and it gets 50 views, they're not interested, because they want to see a return of investment. Therefore, this is. I know I've gone about this a very long-winded way, but that's why it's a catch-22, because you'll go to a manufacturer and they'll ask you what your views are, even though I would argue views isn't the be-all and end-all, but again, different story altogether. And you'll go, well, I haven't got any views. I've just started the channel. I need cars to get the views. At which point they go, no, because they want to see a channel as actively getting a good amount of views in order for their cars to get exposure. So this is where it becomes tricky. And I've seen many automotive YouTubers start and then give up, because it's not an easy ride. And what you're really banking on, and this is what Fiat, MG, and Suzuki did with me. They looked at me. I think I was able to win them over with my dashing good looks and my charms. But they were willing to take a chance on me. And I think a special shout out needs to go to Suzuki Cars UK, because I think without them, I don't think the channel would be where it is now. And I've said that a few times, because
yes, to be fair, it's likewise for me. They're the first ever company, manufacturer that gave me cars.
Yeah, exactly.
Even flew me to Ireland.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for a UK launch. They flew to Ireland for a UK launch.
It never made sense, but it was definitely a good 24 hours.
It was completely awesome. Chris and I, we were lucky enough to be invited to drive the latest Swift Sport. Well, at that point it was the non-hybrid Swift Sport, and it was awesome because we went down we went around the Mondello racetrack, and it was such an adventure because the drive there was quite fun. The sat nav inadvertently took us down this gravel road, and in no word of a lie,
mistake for a B stage.
It was like a rally stage, and there's a point where I kind of hit a crest, and the back end just went a bit, didn't it?
A bit. I was looking at the rear of the car.
all of a sudden, I was looking through the side window. But to date, that's probably been one of the most fun car obsession adventures that I've been on. Of course, it's with you, Chris, and that helps as well. It's weird because I find that I'm still getting cars, but it's quite rare that I get invited to press events now. And when I do get invited to now, that's a good question. I'll come back to that very shortly. When I do get invited to press events, it's normally a week's notice, and that's not enough. So I got invited to the Volkswagen drive there.
And ultimately, you at that point, you feel like you were just like someone pulled out, and you're like the last opportunity, and you to sort of get him to come.
Who's the first one on the reserves list? Oh, Aaron and Langway.
And the thing is, when you look at these press events now, like they're just full of EVs.
Full of EVs.
Yeah. You just know before you even get there what it's going to be like.
Yeah, and to be fair, as much as I was grateful for the invite from Volkswagen, in hindsight, I wasn't that bothered about not going because pretty much all the cars were EVs, apart from the Polo GTI, which I've only driven this year. And the Polo GTI is a good car, but it's a bit boring. Anyway, on to Hip finds question: have you guys considered buying cars which have been abandoned or bought for small amounts, then getting them MOT'd and sold on? The simple answer for that is we'd love to do that.
Well, you sort of already done that.
Well, I have sort of already done it, yeah. The challenge for us is that I live in Worthing on the south coast of England, and Chris lives in Essex. And although it's not from one end of the country to the other, it makes joint projects difficult because we need to have the car in one place. And the thing is, I'm quite handy with the spanners, but not to the point where I'd be willing to take. Let's say, for example, we bought just a pure example. Let's say we bought, I don't know, a Mark 6 Fiesta ST with a knackered engine.
Yeah.
Just as a pure example. Don't read anything into that. It's just what came to my head. I wouldn't have the know-how on taking on such a big job. Like I said, I can do like basic things like servicing, brakes, that kind of thing.
Likewise.
I think
when you start getting advanced into
exactly.
In that scenario, you end up paying people to do it, and then it sort of defeats the object of flipping it.
It does, and
a little bit of money.
And I admire these people that self teach themselves mechanics. I'd love to do that. For me, it's a case of confidence and time. Time is probably the bigger issue. But to answer your question, we'd love to do that. It's just having the time to do it, the money to do it, the patience.
Yeah, which I lack
most
of the time.
Yeah, same here actually. And like I say, if Chris and I are to do it as a joint thing, which we'd want to, and we have spoken about this before actually, it's just where would we have the car, when and where we will work on it. It becomes a bit of a logistical nightmares. And believe me, between the two of us, for our joint channel, a cheeky plug, those two car guys, we've dreamt up some fantastic ideas, but for a channel, probably for a channel for the size of ours, with the resources we have, it's frustrating sometimes because you think of these rather elaborate ideas, and you can dream them up in your head, but actually putting them down onto paper or actually making it happen is really tricky. Like we'd love to do drag races, and the amount of times we've done a twin test and we go, why
drag race?
Why did you drag race them? It's a case of, well, find us somewhere legal in the UK that we can do it.
Because it's done so much on the platform.
People expect it.
People expect
it. But you have to remember, you got Carwow. Good question, Elliot. For me, it was self-teaching. Most cars, in my experience, aren't that difficult to service. It's just following the instructions, really.
Plus, the first time you ever do it, it's a faff. And then you sort of get used to it.
Yeah, exactly. So I recently serviced Ewan, my Audi A6. That video will be coming to the channel fairly soon. And it's the first time I've ever serviced a car. I was only doing it based on YouTube videos and kind of online tutorials. And it was actually quite an easy car to service. The pollen filter was an absolute faff because it's right at the back of the bulkhead in the cabin. And I'm not particularly broad-shouldered, but I felt broad-shouldered trying to get to the passenger foot. It was like trying to thread an elephant through a letterbox. That's what it was like. But servicing cars, really and truly, it isn't difficult. There can be a bit of a faff. For example, my Mark 1 MX-5 Monique, the location of the oil filter, it's a real pain in the backside. It's kind of tucked towards the back of the engine near the alternator, and it's an absolute pig to get to.
Have you serviced the French car yet? Pollen filter
I haven't,
because they're left-hand drive cars. But they decided not to move the pollen filter onto the other side. So you have to, I think some of them, you have to take the clutch pedal out to get to it. I've heard that.
I think you're right, actually. It's crazy, isn't it? Yeah. Got a few more comments. Thank you. Starting the new year early with the beers.
I've had almost a whole bottle of water, so I'm on the Pepsi.
You're right. Mexico is a great place to drag race, but it's quite a long way away from here. But I've always tried to keep things on the channel legal and respectful. I want my channel to have a certain amount of integrity, and obviously Chris is the same.
We don't, as much as we create our own content around our own cars, we do rely on working with manufacturers.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've I've been affected by that with certain manufacturers, but that's for other reasons. Maybe being a bit too honest about cars, but in my eyes, I see that as a good thing to be. Not
and I know of some YouTubers, and I won't name any names for obvious reasons, that have a more exuberant driving style, and it's come back to bite them on the arse. So it's it hasn't happened for a long time, but I do remember there was a period where every now and then I get people in the comments saying, "Oh, drive the car how it's meant to be driven," blah blah blah. "Oh, you need to drive it fast." It's like, I'm driving on public roads. What more do you want me to do? Sorry. If I cause a crash or cause an accident, am I putting the points onto your license? No.
Are you taking the responsibility? No.
Then F off, frankly. 205 is the easiest car to service. Have myself 205 CJ, as I can't afford MX5s as they have jumped in price. They have, to be fair, the MX5s, but a lot of used cars have. Just the way of the world. I'm on TikTok, but I don't use it as often as I do. Personally,
I refuse to use TikTok because short form has killed us. Killed content.
I'm only on TikTok. I went on it as an experiment. I kind of got pushed into it by another YouTuber called She Talks Cars. I do like her content, and she has done well on that platform.
Big up Abigail.
So fair play to her. Fair play to her. She's making waves in the industry. So I'll take.
And if she ever watches this, I'm still not joining TikTok, Abigail. So leave me alone.
So yeah, I am on TikTok. I don't put a lot on there because it's just time. YouTube takes up so much of my time anyway, and I'd rather put as much energy as I can into one thing as opposed to trying to spread myself across various different platforms, because that's where it gets messy. And
I just about post on the platforms I have, let alone add another one, which I'm not that interested in doing in the first place.
Exactly.
Am I reading that right?
Yes, you are reading that right.
Okay.
Yeah, Elliot.
Very naughty.
Elliot, you're a very naughty boy.
Naughty boy.
He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy. He's not coming out as a piss off. So, for those of you that don't know, that was a reference to The Life of Brian by Monty Python. Fantastic film. Very, very controversial in its day. So if you don't know, kids, look it up, Google it, ask your parents. But yeah, no, hip finds is right. Don't do that because one day you'll end up hitting someone or something, and it's going to end in tears.
It's not even the fact that it's not
worth it.
You're doing it in that style. It's you might affect others, and good.
So stop it. It's naughty.
I'm not interested in the money in TikTok. I'm not really interested in the money on YouTube because I don't really make an awful lot.
No. The thing is, again, I've said this numerous times, but I never set out to do YouTube to make money, because I think if you have that as one of your main goals, or perhaps even your primary goal, then
don't get me wrong. I'm at a stage on my channel now where for the last year I've been able to monetize, and don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
it adds a little edge to it. It's nice.
Yeah, it's nice because it helps to cover your fuel.
Yeah.
And
not with that Mustang Mach 1 I had the other month. I did about £400 in fuel.
Henry has asked, what project are you both going to get involved in next? The secret.
No, but if you want to know, we have our own joint channel, and we've been doing some cheap car challenges with cheap diesel estates.
Yes.
So make sure you go over to those two car guys. And we've done how many episodes? 5? Is it 5? Yeah, it is 5, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. So some of you may have, so for those of you that follow those two car guys, firstly, thank you for doing so.
Yeah, thank you very much.
May have thought that the cheap estate challenge has died a death. It hasn't. It's been a case of, as I've mentioned, Chris and I aren't local to each other because we're not.
Yeah.
So sometimes trying to set things up can be a bit tricky, and also if I'm going to be honest, we've been racking our brains trying to think of what we want to do as our last challenge.
Spoiler alert: we're shock horror drawing at the minute, which is is good for me because I was losing quite badly, and then I managed to claw it back in the last video.
So the last challenge will be
mechanic Rob, isn't it?
Yes.
Thanks again, Rob. Still haven't sent you that money, by the way.
check. Rob, his check will bounce. But
I spent all my money tonight feeding him mistakes.
yeah, it will be a do or die. It'll be winner takes all. And that's all I'm saying. Because I don't want to ruin the surprise. Theoretically, you shouldn't be waiting too long for that content because it will be filmed in the second week. No,
yeah, it's sort of the first
yeah,
working week back in January.
Yeah, exactly. The first proper weekend in January, and then it'd be edited shortly after that. So
if any of you guys want to bump into us on the 7th of January, you can find us somewhere on the M25. If someone actually finds me on the M25,
I won't be on it. I won't be on the M25, thankfully. Hitfine says, find another question. What cars would you love to own if you could find an original example? I would love to own a GSI 2000 two-wheel drive, as well as my first proper fast car, which I crashed.
Hold on a sec. While you answer that, when I search those two car guys, channel doesn't come up. If you put in it all one word and then just put I-30 in on the end of it, you then should find the twin test video we did.
Yeah,
you can find a channel that way.
Because the channel's still very much in its infancy.
YouTube don't like us at the minute.
No, it will be a little bit tricky to find. But
what's the other question? What cars would you love to own if you could find an original example?
Yeah, the one I just read out about 30 seconds ago.
Oh, that's all right.
And I'm the one drinking. That's a really good question.
Mate. Appreciate the sub.
Yes, thank you so much. Every little helps, as Tesco would say. That's a really good question. And for me, it would have to be a hot hatch. Definitely a hot hatch. I would say MX-5, but I've got an MX-5. So I'm going to take that off the table. What would I have?
So do you actually know my ultimate car I'd love to have? If this is a really good question for you, if you know me that well, if you know me really well.
EK9 Civic Type R?
No.
Is it fast forward?
No.
What? I'm really puzzled. Is it a hot hatch?
Yeah.
Come back to that in a moment. I think I'd probably go with a classic hot hatch. Maybe like a 205 GTI. Ooh, yeah. Been lucky enough to drive one of those. They're awesome. Is it a Renault?
No, it's not.
What the hell? So it's not a Honda.
I'll give you a clue. It rusts like every single car I've ever made rusts.
Well, it's got to be fast forward then, isn't it?
No.
Some of the old fast forwards.
Yeah, but I mean, this manufacturer in particular, they love rust.
Mazda?
No.
Well, Mazda do like rust though.
Is there a hot hatch Mazda? No.
Yeah, yes, there is. The Mazda 3 MPS.
Yeah, but that's not exactly a classic hot hatch, is it?
No, it's not.
Integra, no, but that is a good show. I do like an Integra.
Yes. And a Volkswagen Golf GTI Mark 1.
No. Okay, let me change it. It's an Italian car that likes to rust all the time.
What a 147 GTA?
No. Once I say it, you'll realise what a fool you are. I've done you what I've on. And we will probably. Do you know what?
Hit finds might have guessed it. Alpha Sud?
No.
Is it an Alpha? Is it an Alpha?
No.
And a Bath?
No.
A Fiat?
No.
You said it's Italian, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly. Have you not got it? Come on, guys. I'll let you try and guess in the chat.
So
do I have to make it even? Right. Okay. Right. So it's an Italian hot hatch that the manufacturer competed in World Rally at some point.
Oh, Lancia Delta Integrale.
Yeah, here we go. The boy
got there eventually.
Yeah.
I would love to drive one of those. I really would.
Yeah. I would love to have one.
But they're all left-hand drive, aren't they?
Yeah.
You can get conversions.
I would love to have one the same age as me, so made in 1993.
Yeah.
I'd love to have one of them. That'd be the epic dream.
Yeah, they're worth so much money. I remember Joe McCarry had a yellow one for 75 grand.
I think I saw that.
You think 75 grand for an old Italian hatchback? But what's the world come to? Mind, some of the fast forward go for silly money.
Yeah. Autobahn. Are you actually intrigued in doing the Autobahn?
I am.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
But
Yeah, genuinely.
But what would Monique actually be able to do any sort of speed on an autobahn? Well, now she's got a turbo, I know.
She has got a turbo, so yeah, who knows? Import one from Japan, they're still around. There we go.
Ooh,
Import one. It will cost you an extra no money.
How much? Yeah.
Somebody, what's your New Year's resolution? Buy more cars. No, joking aside, I think I don't want to get too deep.
I don't really do
I think
New Year's resolutions.
I don't do resolutions. I do more kind of aims as
Goals.
such. Yeah, I think this
Which
year,
you could argue is New Year's resolution.
yeah, I think this year I've been a little bit complacent with my mental health. I don't think I've looked after myself as much as I could do. So that's something I'm going to be working towards more.
You move to me, mate. We go gym
next year. In fact, this isn't a plug or an ad. I've actually got this that I'm currently reading as the Chimp Paradox. It's a very interesting book actually. So give it a Google. And it's not one of those like self-help books like The Secret. And this is proper grade A stuff. So I would recommend that. But I think this year, it's very, very easy to get so busy that you're almost going through the motions and you're not really aware of where you are or what you're doing. You're just kind of just ticking over.
Yeah.
So I think next year I want to have more awareness of what's going on around me. And that sounds really mad.
Yeah, mine's sort of the same. Instead of not necessarily like this year has been a blur for me, like doing TCR, doing loads of other stuff. I haven't really given myself I haven't reflected the time to myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know exactly where you're coming from. Are you doing any shows like Retro Rides, mate?
I'm doing Autosport. I'll be at Autosport in about 2 weeks' time, which is great because it's been shut for about 2 years, and Autosport is a wicked show.
I want to go to more car mates because that's one thing I kind of regret from this year. Like,
you're going to come Ford Fair with me this year?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, good man.
Yeah, I didn't go to many car meets this year. It's just the thing is, quite often I did
the MX-5 one, didn't you?
Yeah, quite often I want to take Monique to car meets, but Patsy and Amber want to come with me. And last time I checked, you can only fit 2 people in an MX-5.
You don't know. You could be the first person to convert an MX-5 to a 3C if you really wanted to. But then
I have 3 seats in the front, like in Viet Multipla. Yeah, I'd love to do more car meets. I want to drag Monique out the garage more because she doesn't get used as often as she should. But hopefully that will change. It's just like I say, it's difficult because Patsy loves cars as much as I do, and Amber, although she's only 2, she does show a little bit of interest towards cars. And it's nice to get out of the flat as well. So I do want to go to more car meets, but it might be a case of that I either take Ewan or take Leo. I think
I'd like to do Goodwood Hot Hatch meet as well.
Oh yeah, I haven't been to that in years.
Yeah, I'd like to do that.
I remember when I filmed it. It was awesome. Back in 2016, maybe.
Caffeine Machine as well. I'd like to go there.
You've never been, have you?
No, I've never been.
Oh, mate, Caffeine Machine is so good. It's just so far away.
Yeah.
Caffeine Machine, if you're watching this, can you just relocate because you're too far away? Now, how dare you base yourself in Stratford-upon-Avon? It's very selfish.
The place I went to recently for Alex's birthday, Peak Performance Reviews, that was a really nice place. Just a shame not many people turned up.
Yeah.
But it's actually a really nice coffee place.
Yeah. What camera do you use for point of view drives? So the GoPro I use is actually really ancient. It's a GoPro Hero 4 Session, which they haven't made for years. The reason why
they've changed that now, though, haven't they? Have you seen it recently? GoPro 11, but it hasn't got a screen on it, and it's got the mount on the back of it and on the bottom of it.
I was very close to buying that in the Black Friday sales. The problem is that the Session is tiny. I was going to say
I'm going to try and find mine, but mine's at home.
The Session is tiny, but the Hero 11 Mini Black, which it's called, it still looks quite chunky. Because the reason why I use the Hero Session is because I can mount that to a baseball cap, and I still have vision to see past the camera. There are some YouTubers that would use, for example, a Hero 11, so the actual full-size one. And I tried that with my Hero 9, and I just didn't feel safe driving because it knocks out basically this part of your peripheral vision. So you get this weird kind of almost like tunnel vision.
Yeah.
But kind of instead of
You
like
start
that,
to realise what
it's
it's like to
that.
drive with a halo.
It's like that. So it gives you real limited vision, and I genuinely kind of lost my bearings sometimes when I was on the road. So I thought I'm not safe to drive like this. As much as using my Hero 9 would be better because it's got better stabilization, it's a more modern camera. I just thought I need to be safe. I'm on the public road, so yeah, I use a Hero Session, and it's quite a basic setup. I did toy about with the Hero 11 Mini, I must admit. But I know Joe Achilles had one, and he had issues with his one. But I was like, don't know.
Just ordering a vodka. Don't mind me.
Yeah. Just started liking cars. Would you guys recommend a daily driver? I'm going to be in college soon, so I need a cheap one because I'm broke. Well, at least you're honest about it.
Peugeot 106 1.1. The reason is that was my first car and I loved it.
That's not a good reasonable recommendation.
It is.
No,
It's
it's
a
not.
mega car.
No, it's not.
If I didn't get caved into the side of it, I'd still have it to this day.
That getting caved into was probably the best thing that happened to that car.
Oh, don't be horrible. I had so many aspirations for that thing, just never materialised.
Yeah, probably for the best.
It's that's a really difficult question to answer.
It is because nowadays,
yeah.
Well, to be fair, I learnt to drive quite late. I was 21, not quite as late as my parents, but that's a different story. I had a 1.2 litre X-Reg Fiat Punto.
Oh.
And at the time, it had blue velour seats.
No, it didn't.
It did. It did. And the colour was metallic grey. That's the name of the colour.
What a contrast. What a beaut. And
the first year of insurance on that was 1,400 quid.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the problem. It's just getting insured on cars. It's just as a first time driver, it's impossible. So there's plenty of cars I'd like to recommend as a daily driver, but whether you can afford them or not is a different matter. Because when it comes to insurance, you just you may as well just go right. Come on, insurance bloke, right? Just get it over with, and just take me out with the backside and just take me for all my money. And I feel sorry for young drivers.
Honda Jazz. He said he's 20 odd years old, not 50 odd.
Yeah. He can't have that because he hasn't got grey hair.
Yeah.
So I mustn't make too many old jokes about the Honda Jazz because
I loved it when you reviewed it and you're in Worthing, which is the oldest population in the UK.
Second oldest.
Oh, was it second?
Second oldest. Yeah. For those of you that don't know, I reviewed the latest Honda Jazz. I think it must have been towards the end of last year.
Or was that horrendous looking cross-star thing?
Yeah. And
hello again.
And
yeah,
I made quite a few old jokes and it didn't go down very well. But how can I be blamed for people not having a sense of humour?
No, yeah.
How's it my fault?
Yeah.
But yeah, Honda Jazz drivers. The thing is, criticize me all you want. Stereotypes are based on a fact. When was the last time you saw a young person drive a Honda Jazz?
Yes, you are right, Elliot. You can put a K24 in it and problem solved. But yeah, that's big money. That is.
Yeah, but anything's got potential for modifications.
Yeah, true. It just depends how big your pocket is.
You could modify a Reliant Robin. Doesn't mean you want one. Just
K-swapper Reliant Robin.
Elliot, why would you get a Jazz as your first car? To be fair though, okay.
What I would say is about first car.
Mocking aside, the Jazz will be very reliable.
What about DMO's? Yeah, DMO's Honda Jazz is mental.
Very, very spacious, and they are practical.
Yes, they are. And what a first car should teach you is that you start at the rock bottom and you learn to appreciate that car.
His words, not mine.
And you can then move up the ladder. And then when you get to a car that you can actually afford properly, and you don't have to worry about, I can't afford to run it that month, you'll actually enjoy it even more so.
To be fair, Hip Finds makes a very good point. It's a decent car, and because it's an older person's car, it's cheaper to insure. When was the last time you heard about a Jazz getting involved in an accident?
They're the ones causing the accidents, aren't they?
Let's face it,
that's why they don't call
it's hard to crash at 10 miles per hour. So, yeah, to be fair, we mock. You're the genius. You are the genius. So I shouldn't take the mick.
Exactly. It's all about the risk. You don't see anyone breaking into Honda Jazzes, do you?
No.
It is my vodka.
Is that actually vodka?
Yes, it is, mate.
Is it?
Yeah.
Pineapple
Smell
Mm, it's nice.
Shrock. Shrock, if you're watching, sponsor.
Didn't realise you had a waitress service here.
Yeah, of course do, mate.
To be fair, as much as I mock the Jazz, it would have been a lot more reliable than my crappy Punto, which
it would be, mate. Yes,
yeah.
100%.
I had it for about
Japanese
a year.
reliability.
Oh yeah, exactly. The thing is, I work for a car repair garage, and the only time we really get Hondas in is for servicing or for brakes. and that should tell you everything, shouldn't it?
Exactly.
Some of the old CRVs, they're bulletproof.
Yeah.
A tank could run over it and it would just go, and what? And just get up and shrug it off. Hondas do make fantastic reliable cars, unless you speak to Alex Damore. That's a touchy subject.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was able to part exchange it for a higher price than I bought it. See, he's a genius. We shouldn't be mocking. He's a genius.
Yes, but at the same time, all cars are worth more than they are at the minute, aren't they? These days.
Well, yeah. Well, it's when you got rid of your 3 Series. What you were?
Yeah, I walked away with like 4 or 5 grand in my pocket, and there's a
3-litre
diesel.
Mental. First cars tend to be hand-me-downs. Mine was a rear-wheel drive Mazda 323 Estate. Oh, how about that for a first car?
Henry, you'd be surprised these days. The amount of people, especially in my area in Essex, that are on learner plates and they're driving around in brand spanking new 2022 cars. You know,
that was the point.
And they're
Stupid.
not like little hot hatches, or not hot hatches, like hatchbacks.
Yeah,
they're like SUVs. You know, like bloody hell, I wouldn't have been trusted in that at my age if I was that age.
No, it's so when I was learning to drive, or maybe just before, my dad and my stepmom had a. Was it not? No, it wouldn't have been an R Reg. It was 12 there. They had, I think it's a G Reg. No, it was. They had
all the younger audience like G Reg. What's that?
They had a 1995 Renault Clio, which Laura, my stepmom, had from new. It was this kind of purpley colour, and it's very.
Is that the like squarer looking Clio?
It was the first Clio. It was the very, actually. I'll find it on Google. Talk amongst yourselves.
I had a Civic 2000 Civic 1.5, which suited.
So Mark,
those Civics were awesome. I have to admit, I was looking at a Civic EG very recently, and I just couldn't find a good one that had like little rust. But all the ones I was finding had like massive holes in them. And I heard about those 1.5 engines that are absolutely superb on MPG. Crazy.
Yes, that's what she had.
In Europe, the car is insured. Hence $1.
So this is what?
Do you mean Europe as in like France, Germany types of things? In the UK, it's compulsory to have insurance. You must have it. Still heartbroken the imported EP3 got sold. Yeah, I'm heartbroken as well because I had to trailer that thing. Well, not me.
No, you didn't. Shut up.
Well, I had to endure trailering that thing from Talk GT in Devon all the way down to Essex for this ungrateful to then sell it about 2 days after.
It was character building. So this is what my stepmother had. So hopefully you can see it. It looks green. It isn't. It's kind of a bluey colour. As you can't see it at all. That's rubbish. But if you just type in Mark 1 Clio Bebop, BEBOP, yeah. And the idea was that when I was learning to drive, that was going to be passed down to me. It subsequently wasn't, and I was a bit annoyed at the time. But in hindsight, when I look back at it, my dad even said to me, he said, you trust me, you wouldn't want that car passed down to you because it was more leaky than a sieve. It's just it had more oil on the floor than in the engine, and it was just an old dog. Because what my stepmom likes to do, and I would encourage anyone to do this, what my stepmom does is she'll get a car from new and literally run it until the wheels fall off. She's currently got a Mark II pre-facelift Focus, which she got in 2006, and it's still going strong. So yeah, that's what she does, and I think it's a better way of doing it. Cars nowadays,
we've demonstrated that with our two
Yeah.
big high mileage diesels.
Exactly. Right. I was just catching up.
What's you on now mileage wise?
Almost 216,000.
Guess what Keith is now?
Let's see.
So you remember I bought Keith and had about
210,000.
Oh, you almost got 205, which is crazy. So I use it every day almost.
Yeah. But the real question, does wooden spoiler work though? I saw one. What's wrong with the wooden spoiler? The F1 teams use them, don't they?
Yeah, that's what I saw.
Yeah.
I had a wooden front splitter on my Civic, and that worked.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you really?
Yeah, in the front, it had a wooden splitter. So it literally goes it covers underneath the whole engine.
I did wonder why your car had mahogany trim. Lovely bit of oak down there. Yeah, and that's the thing. That's the thing. Hip find. It's just as long as a car has been maintained properly and well looked after, there's no reason why you can't get it to 200,000 miles and it still works. Okay. Do any of you remember Miles and Car Throttle, the Octavia they had? Was that 430,000 miles? Opened up the engine. It was like, yeah, it's pretty much like new. It's all about maintaining a car.
They've taken life off it from just opening it.
Yeah. It's just absolutely crazy. And I think what we've proved is that you don't have to shy away from a car just because it's high mileage. Don't get me wrong, we're not going to sit here and go, oh, buy a high mileage car, it will never go wrong, because that'd be stupid. But it's all about choosing a car carefully. And
if you go into it with your thinking hat on, and you actually look into it, not just go and jump into it, head first, you actually find some decent cars.
Yeah, and you can get a bargain.
But, I mean, the cars we found, like, although they were spontaneous and just come up, you looked into it more and saw the history they had.
Yeah. So when I bought my A6, which is actually parked outside, when I went to the dealership, which was about a 2-hour train ride for me, it's in Christchurch in Dorset.
Can't believe you went that far to get that thing.
And I went through all the paperwork. Bearing in mind it was a part exchange, and normally you're lucky if you get a V5 and a key. But it had a full paper. A full folder of paperwork, a lot of which was kind of Audi main dealer. One for the gram. It was a lot of main dealer paperwork. And I sat in the car, and no word of lie, I must have sat in there for about half an hour testing that all the electronic functions worked. And you know what? They all did. The only thing that doesn't work, it probably needs a new fuse, is the one of the 12-volt sockets doesn't work. But apart from that, for a car of that age and that mileage, for everything to work, even the sat nav works. It's just crazy. Probably needs updating.
Your cigarette light don't work. I don't think that's what that.
Yeah. Low mileage normally has been sitting around. Exactly. Yeah. The cars were made to be driven. They're not made to sit around. And I find that's normally when cars start to get.
You've seen that Gary Car Focus has learned that lesson now, hasn't he? He's getting his RS out, driven in. How many days?
But the thing is, that's how it should be. I get that Gary's RS is a precious car, but so is Monique. And although I don't get her out as much as I do, I'd like to think I'm not overly precious with her. For example, I had to drive her in the pissing rain to take her to MTech.
Thanks, somebody. 5 a.m. Yeah, get some sleep, boy.
Yes, thank you. I really appreciate you sticking around. Although he's probably gone now, but you can always probably watch this back. We'll come back to that in a few moments, Henry. I've lost my train of thought now. Not because of you, Henry. It's me just going off on a tangent. It doesn't matter, but we'll come back to you, Henry.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now for GT for 8 years and hasn't torn his own head off.
Yeah, an Alpha GT that got to 125,000 miles. That must be a record, wasn't it?
Yeah, good man.
But yeah, so yeah, I drove Monique in the pissing rain to MTech. I drove her back in pretty much the same weather. And yes, thank you, Henry. Sorry, thank you, Hip Finds. It's a case of, if you're going to be precious with the car, particularly in the UK, you'll never drive it.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
let's face it, we don't have a particularly fair climate. It's even in the height of summer, you can't guarantee it won't rain.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, don't get me wrong. If I try avoid driving her when the roads are salty for obvious reasons, but she has got a bit of a protection underneath for rust, which helps. But it's got to the point where if I fancy driving her, I'm going to drive her, because otherwise she's just a big paperweight.
Ultimately, if you look at it this way, especially with your car, it's going to rust at some point.
Yeah, exactly.
And then if you've driven it for like one time each year, and then you get to the 5th year and you've got to do rust repair on it, and it costs you, how much does it cost you in average? £800-900, depending on how bad it is.
Depending on where it is and how bad it is.
Okay, let's say £1,500 to repair it, for example.
Yeah.
And you've driven it 5 days in 5 years, and you're then going spending £1,500 on it for something that's sat around for all that time.
Yeah, exactly.
When you could have been driving it all year round and probably get to that same point in 5 years.
Exactly. And the thing is, she is a car that
yeah, exactly. Just as I said to you when we did SNET a couple of weeks ago, you went, "Oh, there's going to be salt everywhere." When the salt isn't going to cause as much damage as you think it is in the space at the time you've got it out.
It's a case. Yeah, it's a case of, if I don't use her, what's the point of having her? And I can't stress this enough. I genuinely have no interest in selling her.
No.
So for me, it's not a case of, I want to make sure that she's mint for the next owner. I couldn't give a monkeys about that, because it's a case of, of course, never say never, but she is a car I want to own until I'm old and decrepit.
I think you've sold that straight away with turbocharging it now. With the money you put into it, it's you never get the money back. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So
which is a good blessing, because now it's forcing you. It's not forcing you; it's making you want to drive the car.
Yeah,
which is a good thing.
And sometimes people say to me, "I wonder how much she's worth." I say, I actually don't care. Yeah. Every now and then I'll go into the Auto Trader to have a look at Mark II Lounge to see what they're fetching for. Because sometimes I think, what's Leo worth, but I don't do it with the money, because I couldn't give a toss. I don't care how much she's worth, because ultimately, to me, she's worthless. Yeah. But in a good way, if you know what I mean. Priceless. She's priceless. Yeah. Because
it's a sentiment. It's got sentiment about it.
Exactly. For what she means to me emotionally, you can't put a price on that. You can't. So for me, her value is irrelevant, because if she's worth, I don't know, £6,000 as an example, to me that's she's worth so much more to me than that.
And that's the one thing that currently in the automotive market is almost being destroyed. The sentimental value you have to a car, it's gone.
Yeah, because so many cars nowadays are just samey, especially EVs. Without meaning to sound somewhat ignorant, but it's my own personal opinion. When you've driven one EV, really and truly, you've driven them all. Yes, some of them have got different looks and different features, but ultimately, the way how they drive, it barely differs. Yeah. Whereas you can get a, for example,
we sold on this like instant power delivery, but I had the Mac E for a while.
Yeah.
And it was good from the start, and then it just got boring straight away. I was like, is that it? Is that all you can do?
It's a case of, if you had an FL5 Civic Type R and the latest Golf R, predominantly, although they have similar-ish kind of approaches, they are two very different cars.
Yeah.
Whereas if they're both based on EV platforms, there wouldn't be much to separate them. Just be badges and different infotainment systems. I miss having US Roadster had 8. Wow.
Is that because of rust, or is that just because you really like?
It's because he loves them. Yeah. But prices are 2D now. Great car.
Tell me about it, because this guy's been harping on to me about getting one.
I really think you should get one.
Every time I look,
really
they're either selling. They might as well not even bother taking a picture of the car. They might just put a bag of rust and take a picture of the rust and go, I want £1,500 for this.
Yeah.
Buy me.
Yeah. The days where you can buy cheap MX-5s has kind of gone.
Yeah.
You still can if you look hard enough. But, for example, when I was originally looking at MX-5s, the choice was quite good. It's just when I bought my very first MX-5, which was the Mark II Sport, the choice of Mark 1s for my budget, which at the time was about £2,000, I couldn't find a decent Mark 1. As much as I am sad my Mark II rusted away, I'm glad it did in some ways.
Best in disguise, wasn't it?
Because I ended up with a Mark 1, which what I wanted from the get-go, and I genuinely don't think I could be happy with a Monique.
Why didn't you get a Mark 1 originally? It's just too much money.
I couldn't find a good one for my budget.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I'll tell you what prompted why. It all came back quite quickly. I always had an interest in the MX-5, but it never really sparked properly until I hired an MG midget for an MG run, and I really enjoyed my time with the midget. I thought it'd be great to have something like this, but more modern.
That's why you love hanging around me so much. Love midgets.
It'd be nice to have something like this, but more modern and more reliable.
Yeah.
And then I was watching. I started watching Car SOS around the same year, and they were doing up a Mark on MX-5.
Why did it put you off it?
And I was staggered at what good value you can get these at, because I thought, oh, surely an MX-5 is going to be quite pricey because it's a sports car. Yes, it is a sports car. Shut up. I thought, but when I looked into it, I thought, crap, I can actually afford to buy one of these.
Yeah.
And before then, if it wasn't for driving the midget and Car SOS, I probably wouldn't be where we are now. But I looked into it. I thought, crap, I can actually afford to own one of these. And I never thought a car like that would be so attainable.
Yeah.
It's just,
even to today's standard, they're still attainable, aren't they? Just a lot more money if you look back at it 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
What they went for to what they go for now.
Yeah, as you just said to me earlier in the year, I did get money for steel.
Even Mark 7 STs at the minute holding their money, mate. To get one that's got like 50,000-60,000 miles on it, it's still talking like 9.5, 10 grand.
Well,
they
kind of bottomed out and crashed, didn't they? But where the price of used cars has gone up, it's caused them to go back up a bit.
Yeah.
But I would love to have a Mark 7 ST, and part of me does regret not buying one, but I still stand.
It's all right, mate. You can drive one.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I didn't buy one because I knew Chris would end up with one, so I thought I'd just drive his. But no, if you haven't checked out Chris's channel, please do so.
1,800 subscribers today.
I will badger this guy to do more videos on his ST, otherwise known as Gingy. Actually,
should I show him? Should I show them?
Yeah. So with it being Christmas, and Chris and I being very good friends, I must admit I didn't get anything. I didn't get Chris anything for his birthday. I know, shh, naughty. But I thought I've got to make it up to him, and so this is what I bought him for Christmas. Hopefully you can see what it is via the camera. It is on a.
We're the wrong way around.
We're not using a very sophisticated camera, but this is what I got for Christmas. So
look at that.
It's a company called, well, this is something called Draw Your Ride. I can't think what the actual, Rear View Prints, I think it's the name of the company. Prints as in printing, not Prince as in Prince Albert. But yeah, you send them a photo and they draw the car.
What photo did you actually send them?
That was parked up outside your work.
Ah.
So
it's literally the only other photos I take of this thing is outside my work.
I don't know why you don't take more photos of it.
It's literally the only time I ever have my car is when I'm at work.
Oh, fair enough.
Thank you, mate.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, I have to get that for you. The original RX-7 with the 1.6 LX5 Supercharged would be something I'd like to build. What car would you like to build, guys? Oh, now that is a good question. Well, I kind of know what you want to build. You ideally want to build. Well, I don't know if I can say because we've been talking about this on and off.
Well, I sort of mentioned it earlier, didn't I?
Yeah.
I wanted to build like an early 90s Civic, so an EG shell. If you don't know what it is, look it up.
Google it.
They're pretty
Ask your parents.
They're like 800-900 kilos, and I wanted to build it as like a track car, and obviously put a K24 in it, which would add weight to the car, but the power you get out of it would be great. But yeah, I just can't find a decent shell. And harping back to earlier on in the stream where we're talking about, would you buy an abandoned car and do work on it? It's just very unattainable for me to do, just because
it's just too tough.
I don't have the knowledge of it, and if there was something wrong, how do I tackle it? And I'd probably spend more time deliberating over it than actually doing anything about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There's a build out there which is literally out there, but I just think it'd be really intriguing. Probably not worth the effort, but I have talked about with if I had infinite money, I would love to do. Now you're gonna laugh at this because you'll think, what's the point? But I'd love to do a 2.5 litre 5-pot conversion, so the Audi engine.
Oh yeah.
I would like to take that engine from an RS3 and put it into my Leon. And you may think, we'll just get an RS3, and you've got a fair point. But imagine that having a 5-cylinder Leon Cooper, the only one in the world. Yeah. I just think that'd be amazing.
And you'll probably be corrected with a link that someone's already done it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like there's 5 sell an Auto Trader out of that. But that's one thing I'd love to do, because imagine that just starting the car out and just hearing that 5-cylinder burble, thinking, that's not your normal Land Cooper. Yeah. No, it isn't, sonny boy. But away from that, I would be intrigued to do what Alex Kirsten did with Phil and do the V6 conversion.
It's pretty cool.
But the Rocketeer kit is so expensive.
Yeah, it does look good.
It does look good. It sounds good, but I've spent half that on a turbo conversion and got similar power gains.
Yeah, true.
I know it's not the same as having that V6 soundtrack, but the Rocketeer kit, it did really intrigue me.
Yeah. What was it like price wise?
So you could either just buy the kit and do it yourself, which I can't remember off the top of my head, was probably about eight.
I watched the videos of them doing it themselves, and they're sort of mechanically minded than that looked like faff.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas I think at the time, if you wanted it to be done and built for you, kind of roll out turnkey conversion, I think it's about 11-12 grand. That's a lot of money.
Bloody hell.
Yeah. In fact, let's Google it.
You could buy how many MX-5s for that? And still have.
Well, in today's market, probably about 2. So, Rocketeer. Talk amongst yourselves. Right, Rocketeer MX-5. Let's have a look. So I think you used to be able to buy the kit and do it yourself, but now I think Rocketeer have done it that
you can only go to them and get it.
Yeah. Build options. Let's have a look.
Yeah, it's probably because there's sneaky buggers copying all their mounts and all that and doing it, making kits themselves. Turnkey
conversions.
Yeah.
I bet you the prices aren't on.
Whoa! No way.
Whoa. So obviously you can't see what we can see, but we saw the price first. £14,995.
Yeah, you definitely can't miss that, can you?
No. It's little wonder they put it in bold. And don't get me wrong,
it looks absolutely glorious.
It does look glorious, and just it's gorgeous. But as much as I love MX-5s, just spending that amount of money on a car that really and truly is the conversion is probably worth 3 times what the car is.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I think it's suited to people that.
I would only do it if I won the lottery.
Yeah, it suits people that have owned the car for a long time and they know they're not going to sell it.
Yeah,
they just want a little bit more poke out of it.
Yeah,
because you keep the NA characteristic of it.
You do, yeah. But ultimately, you could supercharge it, in which case, again, you're kind of keeping the characteristics. Or you can just do what I did, turbocharge it and have turbo flutters for days.
To be fair, yours doesn't. When I drove it on track at Snetterton,
That video is coming soon.
It didn't feel necessarily turbocharged.
No, but
evidently you heard it through the flutters.
But that's the thing. I said to him, I said, oh, I want it to be linear.
Could you imagine if you went no go full aggressive with it?
Yeah, I want it proper boosty. I wanted like a 90s rally car, just nothing, everything. Yeah, that wouldn't do too well. I think the limited slip diff would just crap itself.
Yeah, just
no, I'm out.
Yeah, diff has left the chat.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we'll be doing more track days in Monique next year. Which sounds weird me saying that. So I kind of said, no, I won't do another track day in Monique. And here we are going, yeah, I'm going to do more track days in Monique. But yeah, Snetterton was good fun. As you'll see, it was quite slippery because it was the middle of December. But yeah,
it was more cold and slippery, wasn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, I do look forward to doing more track days next year.
15th of April is one of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Won't say no more.
But that won't be with Monique. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. In regards to next,
yeah. I think no matter what you do,
I think because of the material that the Jag M6 is made of, I think is it an aluminium block? I think.
Yeah, but if you read on their site, it's all like blueprinted blocks and all that. So they obviously have them made. They obviously have the blocks made themselves and all that.
Yeah, I think weight wise, I think they work out to be about the same. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure the standard MX5 block is iron.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So I'm sure.
That's pretty mad, though.
So I'm sure weight wise, it doesn't really affect the car that much.
Yeah.
As these people putting V8s in them, then I'm not quite sure.
Drive doing a V10 in it.
Yeah, just crazy. It's absolutely crazy. The thing is, the amount of power Monique's got now, I think to myself, how could anyone possibly want more power than this? But people do get addicted to power. That they do. No matter what they're driving, it's never enough.
I honestly think once you get it on track in dry and you have it on semi-slicks like AR1s or something, and you have it on high boost, the thing will
Oh yeah,
your heart you probably put into pit lane with your heart.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be like crap off a shovel, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
it'd be so flipping fast. But in regards to plans for next year's, not a great deal. I've only got 2 press cars booked in, neither of which are particularly exciting from a performance perspective. I've got the Suzuki Vitara Hybrid.
Oh.
Yeah. I know how to get this party started. And I've got the Kia Sportage.
Oh.
And that's about it, really.
I'm well jealous.
So you should be. Of course, I want to do more videos with Monique. I don't really know what I'm going to be doing with Leo because there's not modification wise. There's not much more I want to do to him.
I think you should just stay for him, mate.
No. Ewan, well, that's Ewan.
Stage for him, mate.
This weekend, I will film an update video with Ewan because I've now owned him a little over a year. Talking about my ownership, any potential problems, how much I've roughly spent on him, that kind of thing. I did service him a few weeks ago. That content will be coming soon at your request.
How much do you actually reckon you spent on Ewan over the last year?
I did work it out. I think it was about £500-600.
Really? Yeah.
But that's servicing, getting his fuel gauge sorted, tyres. The tyres weren't cheap.
Oh, you got new tyres on him?
Two new tyres on the front.
Oh.
Because the front tyres failed the MOT. Any collaborations with YouTubers? I'd love to say yes. I'd love to say yes, but trying to get other YouTubers pinned down for dates that work for you and them is very tricky. And again, without being rude, if I want to work with a larger YouTuber, from their point of view, they haven't really got anything to gain from it. Which
is a terrible excuse.
Yeah, that's not the way how I view things.
So it shouldn't be based on what views and all
it
should be based on, I like you as a person.
I've worked with smaller YouTubers, and I'm always happy to help out smaller YouTubers.
Thanks, mate.
I know how difficult it is. Any YouTuber, apart from any small YouTuber, apart from Chris, that is. So I'd like to hook up with Hampshire Photography at some point next year. But actually, funny enough, I was speaking to him yesterday about a potential collab. But we've been speaking on and off for some time, and
Was he the matey with the funky 140i?
he was but he sold that. But but yeah, trying to get him pinned down has been a bit tricky. At some point, I have been hoping to film with Petrolped. I'll be driving his Mini Cooper S. No, sorry, Mini John Cooper Works Roadster, Ruby Roadster, and he'll drive Monique because it'd be Roadster versus Roadster. But that was meant to happen this year and didn't because he had to get some brake work done. And then it got a bit too late in the year. It got into autumn. So I'm hoping that I can kind of reignite that collaboration.
It's even better for him because you turbocharged.
Exactly, yeah. So power wise, it'd be on a more even playing field. But yeah, I do want to collaborate with more YouTubers, but it is tricky, and I have a similar problem when trying to film with people's cars. It's lots of toing and throwing, trying to commit to dates is tricky, and without being rude, some people are just plain flaky, and I've got no time for that. And yeah, it's frustrating because there's been times where you put a lot of energy into getting something to happen, and then at the last moment they just kind of flake out on you, and it puts me off from doing these kind of things because yeah, it's
Who do you guys watch in the UK? Yes, I met Chop's Garage a few months ago.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you were there as well.
Yeah,
Castle Coombe. Yeah, really nice guy.
I don't watch many YouTubers purely because I don't have the time. No, I'd love to watch more, particularly the smaller YouTubers, because I'd love to support them. But it's just I very rarely watch the smaller YouTubers because I've got time. So people I watch religiously, Auto Addicts Cars. His channel is brilliant. His chemistry with Taylor is just it's so funny. They've had me in stitches to the point where I can't breathe because I'm laughing so hard. I still watch Car Throttle, but it's not the same with that Addicts. I'm sorry. Jack and
although I do like what they've done recently with that Lexus with the 2JZ. 2JZ. Sorry.
To be fair, Jack and Ethan are doing a good job, but it just hasn't got the same dynamic.
Because you've been so used to Alex as the main part to the channel.
Yeah, exactly.
And now he's gone, you notice it much more.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say you carried the other two, but
oh god, no, that would be harsh and untrue. I watch Auto Trader. I think Rory's fantastic. Their production, the Auto Trader production, is just brilliant. And that's in regards to people I watch religiously. That's pretty much about it.
Gears and Gasoline, a lot of them boys in America.
They're very good.
Yeah,
their road trips are awesome.
Again, their production, considering that they've got them two and then a camera guy, and that's it.
Is it? Oh,
yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's very impressive. Yeah. Now and then I watched. Well, I actually watched Drive Tribe yesterday
we watched a bit today
for the first time in ages. I thought, why aren't I not watching this more? Because I just thought it was brilliant. Yes, thank you, Hip Finds. Yeah,
love each other.
Yeah. Save it for later. that's the after show. That's a different platform. It's not YouTube.
If you join Card Session members only part, you get
OnlyFans. Yeah, how long have we known each other?
Jesus, mate, it's been a long time.
About 6 years.
I actually have to try and find the comment. You commented on my video. Is it you commented on my video, or did I comment on your video?
Now and then we try and work out how we met each other, and we can never remember how.
I think you commented on the video, and you gave the question about collaborating of all things, and I was taken back by it at the time. I remember it quite vividly. Yeah. I was like, yeah, why not? It's a stranger, but I'm intrigued. So I ended up meeting up with you. And I think I met up with you when you had the catering, didn't you?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Was that 420S, wasn't it? Or 620S?
The purple one.
All I remember is the thing was absolutely bonkers. And yeah, to get in the thing was just a task in itself, which was that's crazy.
Yeah, and
it was, and I then took you out in my Civic, didn't I?
Yeah, Mr. Miyagi. Yeah, that feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't
Mate,
it?
it's mental, isn't it?
Yeah. I just remember being on the side of the road, just filming you drive by, near the Purley Way, kind of industrial estate, not near IKEA. The loudest thing I'd ever heard.
Mate, do you know what? The last couple of days, I've regretted getting rid of that thing.
But the thing is, at the time, it felt right.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
So fair enough. Number 27. What is it? Is he automotive YouTuber? I've never heard of him.
Sounds like my local Chinese dish. I forget. Number 27. He's a one-man band, and he is a great small YouTuber. Well, I'll check him out, and I'll take your word for
it.
Yeah. The thing is, I would love to watch a lot more content.
Same here.
It's just the time.
Yeah.
And I know the amount of time, me specifically, to put content together, because I'll balance it around work. I mean, I'm hoping this man does less content next year in a good way.
Like, but later than never.
Yeah, I hope you do less content next year and enjoy yourself a bit more instead of being bombarded by having to do videos constantly. And yeah, I hope it improves, and I hope it makes a noticeable improvement.
Yeah, I hope that translates to more views on the channel as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But ultimately, it doesn't. We've spoken off camera about it doesn't actually really matter about the views as much anymore, in the context of that you're making content that you actually want to make. Whether people like watching it or not, you're doing it because you want to do it. That's the whole reason you're doing the channel, is because you want to share your passion for what you like doing, not for what everyone else likes doing. So yeah. Like, it's like with my some of my videos recently, the Fiesta in particular, some of the negative that I've got from it doesn't really make sense and was pointless, but I'm not doing it for them. I'm giving my opinion, what I want. It's my opinion, not theirs. The fact they don't like it, they need to understand it and get over it instead of bombarding me, trying to shoot me down. But
yeah. So we're putting over for a little bit longer, not too much longer, because I'm still getting over a bit of illness, and I kind of feel myself getting a bit banged up. Get your vodka. You don't wear driving gloves.
No, because I'm a man.
Look at some of the racing greats over the years.
Yeah, that race cars on a racetrack.
Yeah.
Not drive an MX-5 on B roads.
Have you never seen what's the film? Have you never seen Drive? No, what's it called? Can't think of it. The Ryan Reynolds film. No, Ryan Gosling film. This is going well.
Yeah, Drive.
Is it called Drive?
Yeah, Drive.
Have you seen it?
Yes.
Mate, it's an awesome film. I rest my case.
Actually, have I seen it?
If you haven't, you need to. It's an awesome film.
No, I probably haven't. I need to refresh my memory.
Oh, mate.
No, that's interesting. That's been mentioned, driving gloves, because that's quite a solid video in terms of views, isn't it?
It is.
It's crazy. Isn't it?
And what's annoyed me is that I contacted Dents, the manufacturer of the gloves, on 2 separate occasions, not necessarily looking for something.
Stop trying to pull the wool over.
But it's just giving them feedback. Say, look, I've made this video. I'd like to share it with you. And both times it just blanks me.
Yeah.
Like, whatever.
Yeah. And I've taken a very dim view of that when I'm doing stuff that relates to the product. Like when I contact certain companies, I don't ask for things for free because I know that whatever it costs them money to make it, but they need to understand that these days they get a lot of influence from doing a YouTube video. Someone like you that might be looking for a Fiesta ST exhaust and they want to know what the best sounding one is. They come across my video of an exhaust that I like. I'm not going to promote it as much if you're going to be quite reluctant to do anything with me. Because at the end of the day, it's my time and effort to edit and put a video out. At least do some sort of discount, and then on top of that, give back to the people that potentially want to buy it. It's quite a simple concept, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
But driving gloves, if you want to wear driving gloves, you can wear driving gloves.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, if you don't like it, that's fine. You don't like it, but you don't have to go, "Oh, you look like an idiot," or try and insult you. Or
someone said to me,
actually, at some point I'm going to go on to and look at the comments. So I'm just intrigued by it.
Someone said to me, I think it was on it wasn't my Focus ST video because it only went live today. I think it might have been the Kona N point of view potentially. And they went, "Oh, you look like such a nerd with those leather driving gloves." And I went back and went, "How many nerds do you know that wear leather driving gloves? Like, what are you basing your argument on? It's not fact."
And I find it a lot where people try and be clever with their insults on
Oh, yeah, they
YouTube,
do.
but when you actually read them,
Yeah,
and I like to actually imagine how they're speaking and what they're actually doing in the comment.
yeah,
And it's idiotic. It
it's
makes me laugh.
"Oh, you look like a serial killer." It's like, mate, turn to the other 20 people that have said that.
Yeah, it's just
It's like unless you're going to come up with an original statement, shut the up.
Yeah.
But anyway, but that really doesn't bother me. If anything, it entertains me what people say.
yeah,
about
it used to
gloves.
affect me quite badly when I first started. I mean, it
Oh, yeah.
did with you as well.
Oh, yeah,
didn't it,
yeah,
at
of
some
course
point?
it did,
But
yeah.
now I've learned to just sort of not accept it. I
It's-
certainly don't accept it, but
It's just a way of the internet. It's just, unfortunately, it's like arseholes. Everyone's got an opinion, and it might be right, it might be wrong, it might be presented in a good way, it might not be.
yes, mate. Unfortunately, Aaron got rid of the Mark 1, so we can't do Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3 video,
Well,
which would have been awesome.
well, Carl, you know, if you you took so long, I had that car for quite some time.
Yeah, no, definitely, mate. We've got to meet up at some point, hopefully before the new year. So message me later.
Oh,
Yeah.
slide into his DMs. What have you got planned for next year? What are your aspirations? What are your dreams? What are your goals?
Well, as you know, I want to do a lot more with my car.
I think you should, because I think it's. I know you didn't.
Just some simple videos to start off with.
I know you didn't buy the ST for content.
No, I didn't.
But I think it's. I wouldn't say it's a waste because that's true. But what I mean is, I think you should do more with it than you are currently doing now.
One thing that is starting to really grind my gears with the car now is the ride. The ride is becoming unbearable. I think it's because the roads have got a lot worse because of winter.
Yeah, the roads are awful.
But yeah, the suspension
is
dreadful.
So where we've had the heavy rain, it's opened up some potholes.
Yeah.
Mate, some of the potholes on the way down here,
yeah,
they're like craters.
Yeah.
So if I drive into that, I'm literally going to drive into it and not come out of it.
Yeah. So
they're awful.
So there's one thing I want to address.
Your car's on stock springs,
just mountain springs. Yeah.
Okay, right.
Which is buyback springs, but just rebranded with yellow and mountain on them.
Yeah.
But yeah, ride is notorious in the Mark 7 to be horrific.
Yeah.
But it just seems worse. I think because I've been driving Keith a lot more, the A4, and the ride in that is just mental.
Yeah, exactly.
So nice. But
the ride in the A6 is lovely.
I'm just getting old.
Well, it could be that. Could be that.
Yeah.
Could be that. Yeah, we probably won't stick around for too much longer because we want to catch up off camera because we haven't seen each other for a few weeks. And plus, our money's just getting over. I think I had tonsillitis again because I only had that 1 or 2 months ago. Annoyingly, I can feel my throat slowly start to dry up. So yeah,
so mine's like I've literally been punched in the throat about 1 million times.
Well, yeah, you want to get some more vodka. That's sort you out. So yeah, probably won't stick around for too much longer. For those of you that have joined us, thank you because I know that's a funny time to be doing this.
What is it? Wednesday today? Yeah, it's Wednesday.
It is Wednesday. Yeah. People probably back at work now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had to push it back because for the last week or so I've pretty much been on death's door. Because of that, obviously not. But no, I have been really struggling last week or so with illness. I'd say probably yesterday and today are the first days that I've started to feel normal again.
But not to sound like a dad, but you need to look after yourself more.
Yeah, but I've been sleeping like crap as well, and that's not helped.
Yeah.
But yeah, probably won't stick around for much longer.
Next year, I want to do a lot more tracks in the UK. Well, I actually want to start pushing into some Europe tracks as well. Spa.
I wouldn't be against that.
Yeah, Spa, mate.
Yeah,
Spa would be awesome.
Yeah, I just have to get a bit more money behind me.
And I'd like people to get a little bit more involved with those two car guys as well.
Yeah, of course.
Give us some suggestions on what you'd like to see.
Yeah, exactly. Probably a fairly decent way to end the stream, just to kind of go full circle and talk about those two car guys again. For those of you that have supported the channel, thank you so much. I know that the content has been few and far between, but that's because I've been busy, Chris has been busy, and for the kind of things we want to present you with, it costs money. For example, buying those cars, yes, they were cheap, but they still cost money. They're not free. We're not being sponsored. Sponsored. By the way, if you'd like to sponsor us, please do so. So getting content up on the channel, particularly the kind of content we want on the channel, because I'm sure we could easily just jumble together some videos just to keep the video just to keep the channel ticking over, but we don't really want to do that.
Yes, because I personally want it to be a little bit more not special. I want it to be like feature films and actual like things that we've put a lot of time and effort into.
Yeah, exactly. I know it was on my channel, but when we drove to Loch Ness, that's the kind of thing I'd want to have on our channel.
And don't get me wrong, we've got a lot of ideas sort of in the ether that we've come up with. But it's just it's getting the financial thing is the thing that really sets the tone in terms of not hampering us, but sort of sets us back.
Exactly. As I touched upon earlier, sometimes we have these rather grand ideas, and then when we go to write it down in a practical sense to go, right, how can we do this? It's a case of actually we can't. Not now anyway. Maybe in the future when we've got a bit more money behind us, a bit more resources. But at this moment in time, quite a lot of things we want to do, we just can't afford it. And that's why it's frustrating when sometimes people go, oh, why don't you do this? As if it's really easy. It's like, oh yes, I'll just get $3,000 up my arse and just do it. But yeah,
the cheap car stuff we've been doing, that showed me a lot of things that the views didn't matter. It was that's a memory for me to cherish.
Yeah, it's, as much as our cheap estate challenge hasn't done well with views, in some respects it doesn't matter because we've had fun doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
And we've ended up with two pretty good cars, haven't we, as well?
Been wicked. Yeah. So much so that my missus doesn't want actually me to sell it.
Oh really?
Yeah. That's quite
that is interesting. Yeah, that is interesting.
Because the way I see it is, it does everything.
Yeah,
and it cost me nothing.
Yeah, and it owes you nothing as well. Yeah. It's one of those cars that if something major went wrong, you had to scrap it. You'd be like, oh, it's disappointing, but oh well.
Yeah.
Whereas if something like that happened to Ginger, you'd be devastated. So, and likewise with Leo or Monique. So, yeah. But yeah, thank you for your support, both for Car Obsession and Pocket Rockets, but also for those two car guys. There will be more content coming in the year on those two car guys. Yes, it will be a little bit spread out, and you may have one video 1 month, and then you may have to wait 2 or 3 months for the next video. But that's because we, as I say, we want to put up the right content, not just any content. If that makes sense.
Quality over quantity, especially on that channel.
Yes, exactly. But we hope you had a very Merry Christmas. We both wish you a very happy New Year. Hope all your dreams come true and all that jazz. But yeah, thank you for those that joined us. And I might start making this a kind of twice a year thing. Do it at Christmas and do it in the summer. So I love doing these. I wish I could do these more often. Just talking rubbish for like an hour and a half.
Get some more people involved as well.
Yeah, exactly. Try and do it so I can invite people in on Skype. That was how we were going to do this one, but as I was saying, Chris, anyway, it made sense to do it.
It's quite good to actually be on the live stream as opposed to in the comments. With
Exactly. But thank you very much for joining us. And until the next time, guys, be sure to keep up the car obsession. Have a good one, guys. Bye for now.
All the best.